Ethan was convinced that I was his future wife and pursued me diligently for a decade. However, on the eve of our wedding, I overheard a conversation between him and a friend. "So, you're marrying Aria just like that? What about the secret girlfriend you've been seeing?" After a brief silence, Ethan replied, "She is merely a substitute. How could she compare to Aria?" He added, "If she remains quiet and compliant, I might consider keeping her around. Aria is magnanimous and will not object." The following day, his secret girlfriend disrupted the wedding. As she violently pushed me off the stage, Ethan recklessly rushed to shield her, prompted by her holding a shard of glass to her neck and hysterically threatening, "Choose me or Aria." In extreme panic, Ethan shoved me aside despite my injuries and shouted, "Get out of the way. I'm taking her to the hospital. If anything happens to her, I'll make you pay with your life." In that moment, my heart shattered. That night, I purchased an international flight ticket and left him. Ethan's voice, laced with suppressed anger and impatience, came through the phone. "Aria, can't you sign the surgery consent yourself? You've called me multiple times just for this? Just because Lena got hurt, did you have to fracture yourself too? I'm utterly exhausted. Please stop adding to my burdens." Since Lena disrupted the wedding, Ethan had vanished with her for an entire half-day. This was my 20th call to him. The previous 19 had all been abruptly ended. Pausing at his frigid tone, I pleaded, "It was Lena who pushed me." I said, "The doctor insists a family member must sign. Since you're already at the hospital, can't you come sign it in a few minutes?" Yet Ethan's response was to forcefully hang up the phone. Confronted with the anticipated outcome, I sighed, "Bring me the surgery consent form, I'll sign it myself." The doctor hesitated, suggesting, "Perhaps you should contact Mr. Ethan again. He might not have heard clearly." The doctor continued, "Just yesterday, he ordered all hospital staff to be on standby, stating that if Lena caused trouble at the wedding and injured you, we must provide immediate treatment." He added, "In the past, even a minor cold prompted Mr. Ethan to summon all doctors for a consultation, and he would personally stand guard by your bedside for 3 days and nights. If he knew you were fractured and by Lena's doing, he would surely be enraged, for you are the most important person to him." I gave a bitter smile. I too once believed I was his greatest love, but it now appeared otherwise. At my insistence, the doctor finally handed me the consent form to sign myself. Until the final moment before surgery, I still held out hope, waiting for Ethan to visit me. Instead, I received only a Facebook post from Lena. In an animated image, Ethan held a steaming bowl of porridge, carefully cooling it before feeding her, and tucked her in. The caption read, "You said 3 years of companionship was the greatest fortune, and you'll spend the rest of your life reciprocating my devotion." Lena beamed with unrestrained joy. It was hard to fathom that mere days ago, she had drowned her sorrows in alcohol after Ethan abruptly ended their relationship, only to later stumble to me, drunk, tearfully pointing at my face and berating me. She had said, "I was Ethan's secret girlfriend for 3 years, giving him everything, yet he never touched me, claiming you, Aria, were his sole future wife. Why do you deserve his favor?" She continued, "I mimicked you by making soup for him, but Ethan slapped me, saying I couldn't compare to you in any way, not as beautiful, not as gentle, telling me not to make a fool of myself trying." Her emotions surged as she exclaimed, "He even said I was just a substitute to pass the time, and once you returned, he'd discard me. Aria, why did you come back? Couldn't you have died abroad?" At that time, Ethan, incensed by her affront to me, slapped her face and expelled her without hesitation. Glaring at Lena with cold disdain, he said, "We're done. Stop pestering me. How dare you curse Aria? You must be insane. If you want to die, do it yourself. Aria is my eternal muse, no one else exists in my eyes." Yet today at the wedding, he unhesitatingly rushed to Lena's side, as if terrified of losing a precious treasure, frantically rushing her to the hospital for emergency care. My fracture surgery was swiftly completed, and I regained consciousness as the anesthesia wore off. Suddenly, Ethan burst into my hospital room, striding in with urgency. I assumed he had come out of guilt to see me, but instead, his first action was to yank my fore-attached hand from the blankets, roughly inspecting it. Failing to find what he sought, he demanded in frustration, "Aria, where's your wedding ring? Hand it over now." My hand was jerked sharply, the fore-needle causing intense pain. I didn't respond immediately, instead asking, "Why do you want my ring?" That ring, meticulously designed and handcrafted by me over months, symbolized our lifelong commitment. He replied, "Lena likes it, she wants to wear matching rings with me. Just give it to her to play with, it's a cheap ring anyway, with barely any diamonds and little value." Spotting it on the table's edge, he grabbed it and turned to leave without hesitation. I lunged to reclaim it, nearly forgetting my immobile leg, but my hand clung desperately to the ring, refusing to let go. "Give it back." Ethan's gaze was filled with disappointment as he said, "Aria, I remember you used to be so generous. How did you become so petty over such a trivial thing?" I declared, "If you insist on taking it, we're done." Ethan froze, then dropped to his knees, incredulously asking, "What did you say?" His voice trembled. 10 years of our relationship, and you can just let it go? Don't you know I can't live without you? I won't allow you to end this." I regarded him coldly, my heart chilled, and said, "But Ethan, you were the one who abandoned me for Lena first." Ethan buried himself in my arms, gripping me tightly. "It's not like that, I only pitied Lena. She was so distraught she threatened suicide. I had no choice but to calm her first." He pleaded, "Once she recovers, I'll return and hold a wedding with you, trust me." Seeing his agitated expression, I nodded and said, "Fine." He sighed in relief and left, reassured, but took the ring with him instead of returning it. I touched my bare ring finger and called a former colleague abroad. "Could you ask the professor if there's still a spot in the lab? I want to resume my research." The voice on the other end was elated. "Really? The professor was devastated when you left. He'll be thrilled to hear you're returning. I'll ask him now." They asked, "But didn't you leave to get married? Won't it be inconvenient living apart from your husband?" I nearly made excuses for Ethan, then found it absurd and said, "He's dead, he won't affect my work anymore." After hanging up, I booked a flight back abroad in advance, then managed my discharge alone and returned home to recover. Lena flaunted her affection daily on Facebook. I saw posts of Ethan buying her haute couture clothing and photographing exorbitant jewelry, their hands interlocked, her wearing the diamond ring snatched from me. I saw them taking multiple wedding photo sets, with Lena captioning, 3 years of secret love, now openly affectionate. Ethan reposted it but deleted it instantly, likely fearing I'd see. As a cover, he reposted an invitation to his mother's 60th birthday. Before the wedding, Ethan had specifically mentioned her birthday, insisting I attend to celebrate as a married couple. Ethan's mother warmly clasped my hand, inviting me to her home. Though the wedding never occurred, I still visited her house bearing gifts. Upon opening the door, I witnessed an unexpected scene. The banquet had begun, all relatives present, Ethan and his mother seated with a space between them, occupied by none other than Lena. Ethan's mother placed a shrimp in Lena's bowl with chopsticks, advising, "Lena's lost weight recently, eat more to regain strength." Ethan glanced at her lightly, saying, "Mom, she's so demanding, she won't peel shrimp herself, insists I do it for her." Despite his words, Ethan peeled the shrimp and fed it to her personally, leaving me standing alone, profoundly isolated and awkward. Suddenly, someone noticed me, exclaiming in surprise, "Aria?" Ethan's face contorted as he looked at me, saying, "Why are you here? I don't think Mom invited you today." Without awaiting my reply, he grabbed me and pulled me outside. Still on crutches from my fracture, I nearly fell, struggling to free myself. "Don't drag me, I can walk myself." Ethan's tone turned cold. "Aria, I don't know your purpose for coming today, but no one informed you to attend my mother's birthday." He added, "If you're here to assert dominance and overshadow Lena, you're not welcome." Shocked, I retorted, "What are you saying? You're the one who insisted I come." Ethan opened his mouth, a flicker of guilt crossing his face, before saying, "I don't recall. Who knows if you're lying." Ethan's mother followed, saying, "Aria, Lena's been down lately, so I asked Ethan to bring her for dinner. Could you leave first to avoid upsetting her?" One by one, they seemed to have erased their prior words to me. Fine if I wasn't welcome, there was no reason to stay. I nodded and was about to leave when Lena emerged. Surprisingly, she urged me to stay. "Mom, Ethan, you're overthinking. I'm not that petty. Aria's injured and came all this way limping. It's not easy. Stay, let's eat together." Ignoring the triumph in her eyes, I replied calmly, "No, thank you for your kindness." But Ethan stepped in front of me, displeased, saying, "You're staying." He snapped, "Lena doesn't mind your uninvited presence and even offered you a way out, yet you rudely reject her? If you dare leave today, our wedding's off. Don't forget you quit your job abroad for me. Leave me again, and you'll have nothing." I froze. Ethan had pursued me relentlessly for 10 years, though I'd never intended to be with him until a truck barreled toward us on the road. He pushed me aside without hesitation, shielding me. Before the ambulance took him, he clasped my hand tightly, saying, "As long as I can save you, I'd give my life, hoping you'd grant me a chance in the next." His sacrifice profoundly moved me, leading me to abandon my research career abroad and return to marry him. Yet now, my love had become a tool for him to manipulate me. I took a deep breath and said, "Fine, cancel it then," before leaving without hesitation, missing the fleeting confusion in Ethan's eyes. That night, I packed all my belongings, planning to head to the airport the next morning, unaware that Ethan would return in the dead of night. He stood stunned in the sparse house, asking, "Where's our photo wall? The pictures I took of you on our trips?" I replied casually, "They fell and broke. I threw them out." Ethan hugged me from behind, saying, "Why won't you look at me? Are you angry?" He sighed, "You're impossible. Why can't you just soften up? With all those relatives there today, I'd brought Lena to them, then you showed up. How awkward. If you'd just dropped the gift and left, none of this would have happened." Suddenly, I felt him seize my hand, slipping something onto my ring finger, a woman's ring, but not the one I'd made. He said, "Stop sulking. I'll keep my promise and redo our wedding tomorrow. Lena won't bother us again. Promise me you'll be there on time, okay?" As he leaned to kiss my cheek, I dodged. Ethan's expression shifted, but before he could speak, Lena's distinct ringtone sounded. He sprang up instantly, rushing out to answer it. Moments later, he instructed, "I have to step out. Be at the wedding venue on time tomorrow." The door slammed shut, leaving me with another sleepless night. I had no intention of attending the wedding, yet I went, solely to return the ring to Ethan. Upon arriving, I was stunned. The bride was not me, but Lena. A massive poster bore Lena's name, and she, clad in a white wedding gown and holding flowers, greeted guests with a radiant smile. Spotting me, she grinned, "Aria, you didn't think this wedding was for you, did you? Ethan promised me this day long ago, but I wanted you to witness it firsthand, so he invited you. Thank me otherwise, you wouldn't even have entry rights." As she spoke, a cryptic smile crossed her face, setting off alarms in my mind too late. She hurled her thorny roses at my face, instantly slicing a long gash across it. Blood dripped, my vision turning crimson. Seeing this, Ethan rushed over and shoved me aside forcefully. He glared at me, eyes brimming with disappointment, and roared, "Aria, I kindly invited you to our wedding. Why did you attack Lena?" He continued, "Didn't I already give you a ring? What more do you want? I was even planning to get a marriage license with you, but you've ruined that yourself." With a grim face, he dragged Lena away, while through my blood-tinted sight, I glimpsed her triumphant smirk. Clutching my face, I struggled to rise, trembling as I left a letter and the ring at the door, then turned and headed to the airport without looking back. Ethan and Lena had reached the wedding stage. Ethan slowly slid a ring onto her finger, asking, "Will you marry me?" Lena was about to respond with a smile when a bodyguard burst in, urgently holding up my letter and ring, exclaiming, "Mr. Ethan, it's urgent, Miss Aria's gone. She booked a flight abroad, and it's about to take off. Forget the wedding, go bring her back." After stepping out of the taxi, I entered the airport. Opening my phone, I saw a message from my former colleague. The professor would hold my old position for me. Relieved, I replied I'd report tomorrow. Everything had circled back to the start, as if it were all for naught. No one foresaw we'd reach this point. After all, since falling for me at 15, Ethan never concealed his affection. Everyone around saw his deep devotion, joking, "Ethan's rich, handsome, and loyal, you should just be with him." But back then, I was oblivious, a studious bookworm wholly absorbed in my studies, setting ambitious goals for myself. No one could halt my progress or sway me from my future, so I often treated Ethan, ever present by my side, as invisible. When he chatted or flirted with me, I let it pass through one ear and out the other. When he gave me roses and chocolates, I tossed them in the trash and walked off. Classmates called me heartless toward him. Yet I pressed on, gaining admission to a renowned university and earning a chance to study abroad. Even then, Ethan didn't relent, his pursuit intensified. He flew weekly to visit me, even crashing a school event to publicly declare, "I love you." That was when I first felt something peculiar toward him. Amid the crowd's cheers, I met his fervent gaze, as if a mental string snapped, revealing a glimpse of the emotional realm. From then on, I couldn't see him as a stranger, gradually succumbing to his persistent efforts. When he was injured in a car accident protecting me, I first felt true anxiety, realizing Ethan had become indispensable in my life. Thus, I embraced his love, devoting myself to him unwaveringly, even quitting my overseas research job to end our long-distance relationship after he grumbled, "Flying half a day to see you delays my work too much." Yet Ethan never disclosed that during his years pursuing me, Lena existed by his side. Though others called her my substitute, how could true love allow for a replacement? Perhaps Ethan didn't love me, but rather my indifference to him. With this clarity, I let go of my turmoil, turned off my phone, and boarded a plane to the long-missed abroad. Meanwhile, at the wedding, Ethan was tenderly exchanging rings with Lena. The bodyguard's intrusion briefly silenced the scene, prompting Ethan to frown irritably. "Why barge in now? Can't you see the ceremony's underway?" Wiping sweat, the bodyguard handed over the letter, saying, "It's about Miss Aria. She left a farewell note at the door and has likely departed. Shouldn't you go after her?" Historically, Ethan fixated on every detail concerning me, a habit that conditioned those around him to report even minor matters. Ethan remained still, eyes fixed on the envelope, brow furrowed. He barked, "Get out. This is my wedding with Lena. Don't mention anything about Aria." Stunned, the bodyguard apologized profusely and left. Ethan's stare lingered, as if tempted to pursue, yet he restrained himself. Lena interjected, "Aria's ridiculous, pulling such a stunt now. I know she's never liked me, but disrupting our wedding like this is unacceptable." She added, bribing the bodyguard to deliver it, "She's gone to great lengths." "Right, Ethan?" Snapping back, he nodded instinctively. He said, "This Aria, I thought she wasn't the type, but I misjudged her. Using such a low tactic, let's proceed with the ceremony and ignore her." With that, he slid the ring onto Lena's finger. He kissed her forehead. Smiling, Lena asked, "Ethan, will you spend your life with me?" Ethan nearly said he'd only promised Lena a wedding, a formality, not a lifetime, intending to spend his with me. But the words shifted at his lips, "I do." The crowd erupted in applause, yet Ethan's heart felt hollow. He scanned the room for a familiar figure, wondering if I was jesting, but found none. Stepping off stage, he anxiously asked acquaintances, "Where's Aria?" They shook their heads. No one had seen me. Anger surged within him. This Aria, why can't she follow simple instructions? I told her repeatedly to attend today's wedding. Where's she gone? If she doesn't show, she can forget about us getting a license today. As he reached for his phone to call me, Lena intervened, taking it away and sighing, "Ethan, you're too soft and impulsive, that's why Aria exploits you, acting superior. Think how many years did you chase her? If you keep bowing to her for life, won't you tire?" She added, "Contacting her now might play into her hands, let her wait, and she'll behave." Hesitating, Ethan heard her say, "Didn't you say today you'd follow my lead?" Guilt toward Lena made him instantly compliant, letting her lead him among guests, toasting and showing off. By the wedding's end, it was late. Ethan helped a drunken Lena into the car, then called me, "Sorry, the number you've dialed is off," followed by a busy tone. His face darkened as he left a voicemail, "What are you doing?" "I was just delayed by the wedding, do you have to act out like this?" He continued, "You're home, right?" "I'm bringing Lena back, stop with that sullen face, it's irritating." Ethan, owe you nothing." Hanging up, he drove home. But no one opened the door at home. Supporting Lena with one arm, Ethan struggled to unlock it with the other. Lena rolled on the sofa, slurring, "Ethan, I'm hungry, I want food." Ethan stormed to my room, pounding the door, "Aria, get out here. Lena's drunk, take care of her." "Hear me? She's hungry, you're good at cooking, make her some porridge." Yet the room was silent, making Ethan pause. Leaning against the door, he listened, assuming the lack of response stemmed from sorrow. Softening his tone, he said, "Aria, don't be upset, okay?" Still no sound. Panicking, he turned the knob, finding it opened easily. Inside, the room was spotless, as if uninhabited, save for a box on the table. Ethan opened it to find all the gifts he'd ever given me. A sticky note atop read, "A 3-person relationship is too crowded, I'm out. Wishing Mr. Ethan and Miss Lena a century of bliss and many children." It slipped from Ethan's grasp. He called the bodyguard from earlier, urgently asking, "Was that letter really from Aria? Where is she now?" The reply came, "Mr. Ethan, it's real, I checked the footage, Miss Aria left after dropping it off. She wrote she's breaking up and returning abroad, so I asked if you'd chase her. But since your heart's now with Miss Lena, it doesn't matter." Ethan roared, "Shut up, what do you know? Find out which flight Aria took, I'm going after her now." He grabbed his coat to leave, but Lena began to sober. Stumbling after him, she grabbed and hugged him, mumbling, "Ethan, how about our wedding night?" He shoved her off coldly, "Aria's missing, I've no time for you. Get lost." Lena sobered halfway, standing dazed. "How could you?" But Ethan had already sped off to the airport. At dawn, my plane landed across the ocean. Turning on my phone, I found countless missed calls and texts. Ethan, realizing I'd truly vanished, grew frantic, asking my whereabouts and vowing to find me. I considered blocking him, but knowing his past tenacity, he'd likely use new numbers, so I set my phone to Do Not Disturb and reported to school. I resumed my solitary research life, quiet and lonesome. The only change was the absence of his constant shadow. I felt both relieved and content, this was the life I'd long dreamed of. Ethan's presence briefly derailed me, making me lose my focus, but I'd now realigned with my path. Still, lab colleagues tiptoed around me cautiously. They avoided topics of romance or mortality until I finally asked, "Why do you all steer clear of me?" After exchanging glances, they revealed, "Someone said your husband died, we didn't want to upset you, so we never bring it up." I recalled my offhand remark, but explaining now seemed futile. I smiled awkwardly, "That's the story, but it's fine, I'm nearly past it." Just then, a voice called from behind, "Aria." It was Ethan, striding toward me with a stern face. I shot up, smiling awkwardly at my colleagues, "I've got something to handle, I'll go." I hurried out as if fleeing, but Ethan pursued relentlessly. My leg still unhealed, I gave up escaping and sat to rest. Ethan, irritated, said, "Why run, think I'll devour you? Aria, how could you leave without a word? Do you know how long I've searched? Stop this, come back with me." Mom says tomorrow's auspicious, we'll get the license. Calmly, I replied, I won't return with you. Abandoning my dream career once was foolish enough, I won't repeat it. We're over, there's no discussion. Ethan gritted his teeth, I didn't agree. I countered, lower your voice, don't yell, it's embarrassing. Ethan choked, staring at me in disbelief. He couldn't grasp why I treated him so, though he'd done the same to me. I thought he'd understand and back off. Instead, he lingered, trailing me more doggedly than ever. I sighed, indeed, for you, only the unattainable is precious once gained, you stop cherishing it, right? He faltered, what? Grasping my meaning, his face soured. Aria, how can you think that? Where didn't I cherish you? Haven't I been good enough? He pressed, what didn't I buy you? Where didn't I take you? I only spent a few days with Lena, must you make a scene? I didn't answer, just shrugged with a faint smile, saying, if that's your view, I can't change it. How about this, I'll agree to reconcile. Ethan looked up, eyes hopeful. But with conditions, you won't be the only one by my side, I'll be with my lab senior. If you're sick, I won't visit, I won't go anywhere with you, if you clash, I'll back him. The wedding's with him too, maybe I'll humor you if I'm in the mood. Ethan's brows knitted tightly, Aria, don't go too far. I laughed, you know what's too far? This is exactly what you did to me. Stunned, Ethan opened his mouth but couldn't speak. After a pause, he said, sorry, I didn't realize. You gave me such security, I just assumed you'd always stay by me. He admitted, so I leaned toward Lena unconsciously, thinking I could find you after appeasing her. Please, give me another chance. I shook my head regretfully, too late, truly too late. I'm grateful you taught me love, but when I gave it my all, you drained it dry. At this, Ethan froze. Tears streamed down uncontrollably. He knew me well, my quiet nature, never prone to anger. Even when he'd pestered me most, dragging me out all night before an exam I missed, I'd never been this distant. This tone marked my firmest farewell. After a long silence, Ethan wiped his tears, nodded, I understand, and turned abruptly to leave, his rigid back trembling as if sobbing. Moments after, my phone pinged with a text, Aria, wait, I'll prove you'll forgive me. Until I agree to break up, don't get close to other men. I headed to the lab, approached a familiar senior, and asked, Senior, can you help me? I snapped a photo of our clasped hands. I posted it on Facebook, unblocked to all. Instantly, my phone buzzed wildly. Ethan, frantic, yelled, Aria, who's that? He raged, I just left, and you're with someone else? Were you cheating while we were together? How else could you move on so fast? I replied calmly, that's not your concern. Remember, no matter who I'm with, it won't be you. I hung up, leaving him to his hysterics. Perhaps that post truly stung him, he stayed silent and absent for a long while. I focused on my research, published a paper in a top journal, and won an academic award. The professor, delighted, patted my shoulder, Aria, I knew you were gifted, born for academia. Your departure for marriage pained me, but I was helpless. Good you're back. I smiled and nodded silently. At that year's graduation, I was naturally chosen as the outstanding speaker. Post-speech, the audience roared with applause. As the spotlight and crowd's gasps lit a spot, I turned and saw Ethan, roses in hand, suited, eyes brimming with affection, walking toward me. The scene mirrored years past when I'd fallen for him. Publicly, Ethan offered me the roses, gauging my reaction, and said cautiously, Aria, I'm back. He presented a jewelry box, reverently revealing the diamond ring I'd crafted for him. Choking up, he said, I retrieved this ring for you, come back to me, please. Onlookers cheered, say yes. But I smiled faintly and left the stage. Ethan chased me, grabbing my hand, look at me, this ring you made for me, don't you want it anymore? I replied, you forgot I said no matter who I'm with, it won't be you. He pleaded, I quit my job for you. One word, and I'll stay abroad. Kneeling, he begged, I've made Lena leave and cut ties completely, she'll never appear again. He rushed on, just say it, and we'll live happily. No one will treat you as well, I'm sure. Why not try with me, Aria? He pleaded desperately, fearing I'd slip away. I shook him off coldly, leave, don't block me. Pester me another minute, and I'll call the police for harassment. With a thud, Ethan collapsed, seemingly heartbroken, sobbing in disbelief. He wailed, I chased you 10 years to win you, we could have lived well. What happened to us? Only he knew the truth, he should answer for his deeds. After that day, Ethan grew obsessive, following me daily, asking repeatedly, Aria, do you really not love me? What happened between us? I stayed silent, calling the police each time. Eventually, after too many station visits, he was taken for a psych evaluation. His mother flew in, hastily retrieving him for treatment in a mental hospital back home. Before leaving, his mother asked, Ethan didn't do anything grave, why can't you forgive him? I said nothing. For some reason fails, actions must prove it. My forgiveness will never extend to those who've harmed me.